This podcast represents the opinions of the hosts of the Laugh Cry Club and guests on the show. The content here should not be taken as medical advice and is for informational purposes only. And because each person is so unique, please consult your healthcare professional for any medical questions. While we make every effort to ensure that the information we share is accurate, we welcome any comments, suggestions, or correction of errors. Welcome back, everybody. It's the Laugh Cry Club. I am Joy.
I'm Rebecca, and we love Chelsea. Chelsea's not with us today.
We love you, Chelsea.
Yes.
We're giving you so many hugs. So many hugs and loves. Let's see. Where do we start? Hey, everybody. We're licensed therapists.
We are. We're trying to find our way this morning.
We're just trying to find out if it's a Friday, if it's a Monday, is it a Wednesday? I don't know. It's just, it's one of those days. So we are 3 licensed therapists that started this podcast almost a year ago. It's kind of weird to think. I feel
so cool.
like I so vividly remember the phone call where this all started. It was like June 2024. So kudos to us for sticking with a podcast for a year, because that's not easy. A lot of podcasts start and stop, and it's just, it's a hard thing to manage, but we've really committed to this. So pat ourselves on the back. We have been doing this podcast where we just want to normalize being a human. We're 3 licensed therapists who, yes, we have expertise in talking about mental health, but we also want to just make everyone aware that you are not alone and that we all struggle with the daily life of being a human.
We do. And I think that's kind of important maybe for the topic we're going to talk about today, you know, the comparison trap we get into with like social media and these highlight reels. But yeah, I was thinking, you know, what we post on our social media page is always real. Like I was thinking, like, from what you're saying and to what we're going to talk about, like, we don't really disguise anything. I think that's what's really cool about this podcast, is that we are therapists, but we are also pulling back the kind of the curtain. Like, we're humans too. We're imperfect. We make mistakes. We, have laughs and cries just like everybody else. And we just put it out there. We don't hide it. I love that about us.
Yeah, I love that we don't hide it, because life is really hard. So
it is.
We always start with our laughs and cries, and then we'll get into our topic. We decided to talk about comparison because it's something we all struggle with. Do you want to start, or do you want me to start with laughs and cries?
I'm going to nominate you to start with laughs and cries today.
Okay. All right.
Are you going to accept it?
I do accept.
Excellent.
Yeah, I do accept. My laugh this week is kind of like this really heartfelt, just, it felt so good nostalgia. Was watching the Peewee Herman documentary on HBO. It's called Peewee as Himself. I grew up, I was like right in the demographic of Peewee Herman, where I believe I was 8 or 9 when he came on like my scene. And it rocked our world when we were kids, like rocked our freaking world. So I was at my parents' house also helping my mom recover from knee surgery. So we watched it together, and we're just like having these like amazing moments of like remembering how much fun we had with that movie and with his show. And I highly recommend, if you haven't watched it. I'm not going to give any spoilers, but
I have not watched it, but I want to. I'm like super stoked,
Rebecca,
because I love him.
It is so good. And it made me reflect on so many things. Like, I'm not going to geek out too much. I'm going to try really hard not to geek out, but the complexity of just him as a human is so beautiful, to a point where I just wanted to dissect every part of him, because he's just such an interesting human. From talking about, and the movie has so much footage of his life, because he wanted to be on stage since he was a kid. So it's so cool that they have all of this footage of him acting as a kid, from teenager and then into high school and then into young 20s. Like, I had no idea that he was really like into just really kind of wanting to be a serious actor.
Wow.
And even spent time doing like that really, I can't remember the immersive, I can't remember the phrase, but it's like where you're just like immersed in your character, almost like method acting.
Yeah.
Really abstract, kind of like really into Andy Warhol. Like, it was really cool to see how he developed himself as an artist. And like when you say artist, he is 110% artist through and through. And it's just the way his mind works is the coolest. And then also my heart broke for him having to struggle with his sexuality publicly and then privately and publicly and privately, and like how he decided to be out for a while. Anyway, I'm not going to go into, but it just like that whole identity and sexual identity and like how hard it was to navigate that in the 80s and 90s, because if you're on TV, you can't really say that you're gay. It will hurt your career, all of that rhetoric. And so like how he navigated that. And you could even sense like up until he died that he kept everything so private for like that self-protection reason. And I don't know, I love him so much. And how it also breaks my heart when that charge came against him, which is so stupid, as they like charged him for whatever, like how that completely broke him as someone who just loved his art so much. And it just like, it makes you just really I just wanted to give him a hug. I so badly wish I could like have met him and tell him how much he meant to me. And anyway, so I tried really hard not to geek out, but I love him. I love him.
Yeah.
He is one of those artists that completely changes your life. And I don't think he ever knew how much of an impact he had. Maybe he did, but even watching him during the interviews, you could just see his sweet, cute spirit. Like he's just the cutest. He is. I'm so glad that you watched it and you're giving it a, all the toes and fingers up, because it's on my list. I just haven't had a chance. So good.
I
love
so good. Peewee Herman.
Oh, and like I just remember as a young girl, I think I had a minor crush on him. I just didn't know what that was. You know what I mean? Like I was like, he's cute. I'll never forget. There's this scene in Pee-wee Herman's Big Adventure where he's doing that dance on the bar, the tequila dance, and there's this face that he does that he is like looking down before the music comes on. And he does this like head flick, and he has like this serious face. I remember as a young girl being like, oh, that's hot. Like I didn't actually say that in my head because I was too, but I remember that like that moment I was like, dang, he's cute, So I had a crush on him, I think, slightly, especially in that scene. He was just like, he's so handsome. Okay. Whew. All right. My cry was almost like just one of those interactions with humans that you're like, I was in this vulnerable moment. I was just feeling very vulnerable. So I think there's like a few factors leading up to this interaction. I was feeling vulnerable. I needed to get out of the house. So I was feeling restless, and I wanted to take Leela on just like a quick trip to go to Whole Foods. So I was like, okay, I'm going to take her to Whole Foods. And because she just turned 5 months, but because she's younger, you just have to be very intentional about any outing you do with these puppies, because you want to make sure it's the proper environment. You don't want to expose them to something that's too crowded. You don't, you want it to be always a positive experience. Yeah. So as a puppy raiser, you have to be very mindful of where you take them. And so I was like, oh, this will be great. I'm just going to go to Whole Foods for literally 10 to 15 minutes. I just got to run in and out. But having said that, it's always vulnerable when you're out in public with a puppy, because people are looking at you. You also just want to make sure that the puppy is having a good experience. Like you're very distracted.
Yeah, I would think.
So it almost feels like you're always kind of like in the public eye when you're out with a dog, because everyone's very aware.
Also, like thinking about her safety too, like
all of that.
People they lose their mind when they see dogs, and
they do.
Are inappropriate. So
so you're constant. It's almost like you're traveling with a celebrity. You kind of like have to always be aware of like what people are going to.
She is a celebrity.
Yeah,
and her mama is.
So she's famous, and she, you want to protect them. You don't want anyone to come up to them. So there's just like all of this stuff that goes into it. So I realized that I was, I get to Whole Foods and I'm walking outside with her, and you always want to toilet the dog before you go in, just in case, like as a puppy, you just don't want to have any accidents. You always want to have a good experience, because again, there's also pressure on you to make everything a positive experience for the public. You don't want to tarnish the name because they have a vest on. I always wear a Canine Companion shirt I try to when I'm out and about with them, just to kind of like, do some advertising for the organization. So you also don't want to have a dog poop or pee in a grocery store. You know what I mean? Like that's just also something that like you try very hard to control all of these factors. So I'm toileting her outside, and I walk up to the entrance, and there's this old man sitting on a bench. He's probably in his 70s, like just an old man. And I kind of like notice him out of the corner of my eye because he kind of gets up. It was a Sunday afternoon, so probably not my best judgment to take her on a Sunday afternoon when it's pretty busy. But again, I was like, it's going to be a short trip. And so he says something to me, and I'm kind of distracted because I'm also trying to like keep her out of the way because we're like right at the entrance where people are coming in and out. And he points to the sign, and it says, no emotional support animals, which is out in front of Whole Foods, which I appreciate that businesses have started to really try to police people just bringing in pets to the store, because it makes our jobs so much harder, and it makes people who actually have a service animal, it makes their life a lot harder because there's been so many pets that attack service dogs. Anyway, I could go into a whole diatribe about that. But so he points to the sign, it says no emotional support animals, and it kind of jarred me because I was like, oh, he's like telling me don't go in here. And he doesn't recognize that she has a training vest on. He doesn't recognize that I have a canine companion. He doesn't recognize my treat pouch.
Yeah.
He points and says no emotional support animals. I go, oh, she's in training. It jolted me to a point where I didn't know what to say. And he just scoffed at me.
What?
Yes. He just was like... And then his wife came out, like, I guess he was like waiting for his wife. So his wife came out, and so he just started walking with her. And I was so jostled by it, by him thinking that I was breaking the rules because I'm a rule follower. And I feel so passionate about this issue of people using fake service animals that I was like, and then I said, do you know canine companions? And he just like scoffed at me again and walked away. And I was like, it completely put me in this spiral. And I don't know why. I think I was just having a bad day. But it completely put me in this spiral to where I just, that moment where you're just like, I can't concentrate. Like someone just said something to me that like completely threw off my day. And I know I shouldn't have let it, but I had no control. Like I had no control. It was just like one of those days.
It's like a WTF moment. Like
totally. And so I walk in with her and I get what I need. But the whole time I am just terrified of other people going to come up to me and say the same thing. Like I just all of a sudden was like, oh no, everyone here thinks I'm a fraud and thinks that I'm, you know what I mean? Like it just completely threw me off. So I got what I needed and I got the F out of there. But I sat in the car and I just like, I didn't cry, but I just got in this mode where I'm like, what the F is wrong with people? Oh, and when I'm walking back to my car, this huge ass truck, fucking hate these big ass trucks.
Yeah. Big tires way off the ground.
Huge
Why? You're in a city.
Why? So he's waiting for me to cross, and Leela's taking her time because she's a puppy and I don't have her attention. So I'm trying to kind of like gently lead her. You do not yank these dogs.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to like coax her to come with me. Finally, she does. And he just zooms so close to us. Like I'm talking a foot.
Goodness.
Zooms close to us to get into a parking spot and like just zooms right around us. And I was like, what the F, man? Like, remember when I told you I'm going to get shot one day for like doing the hands up to people? I did it. And I was like, excuse me. And then this sweet guy who was pushing carts in, like he worked at Whole Foods, was like, yeah, man, people are crazy in these parking lots. And it was just almost like this little angel who completely intervened. You can hear me like getting all anxious, like talking about it. And he was like petting Leela, and he was like validating that.
And
he
people asked to pet her, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he's like, I have a lab. I love labs. He was just very, very sweet to me because I think he saw how frazzled I was with that experience. And these stupid people in this truck just like whizzing right. Not only, I don't care if it was me, but I have a little baby dog with me. Like who freaking does that? I was so pissed.
Yeah.
I was so pissed. So that was my cry because I like got in the car and I was like, I need to just go home. Like I just need to go home.
Yeah. Joy, like I'm actually feeling like I think you kind of going to these cries, and I'm at this point in my like perimenopause journey of like getting angry. Yeah. And like even you telling the story, I'm feeling this just so ready to explode and be like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna lose it on these people. Like this is not okay.
And then I like recently I listened to the Busy Phillips podcast a lot. It's called Busy Phillips is Doing Her Best. I'm a huge fan of hers. and she has a co-host named Casey, and I love Casey. She's so smart. She's just so smart, and the things that come out of her mouth are so brilliant and funny. And she's a writer. She's like a comedy writer, so it makes total sense because she's awesome. And she was telling this story, and it made me think of this situation where she was telling this story where she's like, why is everyone at an 11 these days? Where if you do one thing, people are coming at you like, you say the sky is blue, and they're like, no, it's not, it's green. Just like everyone is at. She's like, why is everyone at an 11? Yeah. That was my moment where I wanted to be like, is everyone just at an 11? Or maybe I'm at an 11 and I need to go home because I'm just like a live wire.
I don't think you are at 11. I see you as I'm just very
sensitive.
Yeah. Very sensitive. You feel a lot of things from people, the environment. Like the man, he just set it off. Like, and there was no reason for it. I don't know what his deal was, but he decided he was going to police somebody else's behavior, which is not his job. And I think, and then you took that on because you're a rule follower and it made you feel bad. Like, why are people going around making each other feel bad? Like, I think that's part of the problem. Like, let's think about things before we say them or act in manners. And like, how does this other person perhaps interpret it?
Yeah, I mean, or just like the lack of awareness for other people or being compassionate towards other people. I mean, it kind of goes to this whole thing of
totally.
Like, I just see the world as like, we need more compassion and love. And when you see that just completely disregarded, it's really devastating. It hurts my heart. It's the same thing that happens when someone flips me off in traffic, where I'm like, you don't know me. I'm a really nice person,
Right. Yeah.
I recently saw this bumper sticker that says something along the lines of, please let me in. I'm going to cry. Like, I'm about to cry. Please just let me merge.
That is your bumper sticker.
I need that. Where it's just like, I am this very highly sensitive individual. Please be nice to me because I just can't handle any negativity of the world. Like, it hurts too much. So that was my cry.
Yeah. Well, I'm so upset about it. I feel like I want to fly out there and be you and Leela's bodyguards because I'm going to be like, Joy, you go ahead and go in. I'm going to handle this shit
I accept.
Okay?
Yeah.
I'm going to handle it. You go on with your grocery shopping. I got you.
And the funny thing is, like, 90% of the time, 99% of the time, people are so sweet when you're training a service dog, and people are like, oh my gosh, from afar. I can't tell you how many people are like, you could just see you can see them just really trying to hold back from trying to, they don't want to like run up to you and pet them, but they have some massive restraint.
It is hard. It is hard when you see a service dog, even those that are not in training and just
even
out
the ones
and about
that are
doing
working.
their job. They're working.
Because
I'm like,
so
oh my God, they're
cute.
So cute. They're so well mannered. Like my 3 at home. Like I'm just like, you're so cute. I just want to hug you. But it's like the restraint. It's like, because it's like pure joy. It's so joyful. It's pure
joy. And a lot, I mean, that's all I had at Whole Foods for the rest of our trip was people looking and being like, oh my gosh, it's so cute. They're trying so hard not to look at them. And people with kids are so respectful. They always tell their kids like, oh, that dog's working. You can't pet them. And you'll get the occasional flyby person who just like drops down and pets them. And you're like, ugh. But for the most part, people are just like super, super nice. So that one experience I can't like let ruin my entire, but like I said, it was just like wrong place, wrong time.
What's interesting though, you had an experience that was negative. Then there was a corrective, nice experience that was positive. Yeah. Then it was another negative experience with the truck. Right. And then the angel guy outside was another positive experience. So it's like, wow.
It was almost like trying to show like the
yin and yang. It's like we're trying to balance you out right now, Joy.
We're trying. Yes. So, all right, let's pass it over to you.
Oh, yeah. Gosh. I have been just crying a lot this week. Obviously, my heart is with Chelsea and her family, and it's been so hard. And I'm holding space from here. And you can be a bucket. You don't even have to be around people to be a bucket. You can just be wherever you are and be that bucket. So I am holding a full bucket. So that's been my cry. Gosh, I've had a few laughs and I was like, what am I going to share? But I might share both if I don't take that much time. But this one happened just yesterday. So Robin's mom is home from rehab because she had broken her pelvis. She didn't have to have surgery because it was a hairline fracture, but she's home and has a walker and had a wheelchair and stuff and has some mobility stuff. So they're thinking about hiring like a caregiver for her for like, 10 to 15 hours a week. And so Robin's going through trying to interview people to get them. Well, Robin has a lot of anxiety around phone calls, would rather not make them.
Oh my gosh, I think a lot of us do.
I know.
Are you like that?
At times. It just depends.
Yeah. It depends, yeah.
If it's like calling the insurance company, yeah, I don't want to get on the phone. I'll avoid it. But other things, I'm not so bad about it. So I'm like, okay, well, I can help you. I helped with the interview questions. I'm like, I know how to interview people. I can make these calls. I'll just pretend I'm you. You can sit here with me. And so we're on this. There's this one person that she's going to check the references for because she likes. And anyway, she was showing me, she's like, okay, so you're going to be calling this person and this person, told me their names. And then the first number is so-and-so and the second number is the next person. And I'm like, okay, cool. But when she showed me on her phone the text, there was a text with a phone number. And I think I've got a screenshot of it, so I might share this. I'll X out the numbers, but on our Instagram page. But there is the first text as a number, and then I could see there was this other text message underneath it. But she says, yeah, you just, so-and-so is the first number. And I'm like, okay, no problem. I got this. I clicked the first number and I'm like, yeah, is say Mary there? And the person kind of starts giggling and she's like, oh no, this is Sarah, like the person we're actually trying to hire, right? So it was her number I called.
Oh no.
And I'm like, and then Robin like gets so discombobulated, grabs the phone and was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. We're checking your references, blah, blah. Anyway, I think she was so embarrassed because
trumped her fear of the phone call that she had.
But what was so funny is the miscommunication. And I was like, it was like almost a little bit of an argument, but it was kind of a laugh after the fact because I'm like, you told me the first number, and the first number was above the second text that had two numbers in it.
Yes.
And so I just hit the first number, and she's like,
you were following directions accurately.
Like, that's not what I said. And I'm like, you said the first number. And she's like, I meant the first number in the second text. And I'm like, well, that's not what you said. It was just hilarious. So,
oh my gosh,
we've been talking about it nonstop. Like,
funny. Who's
right? Like,
did you just end up having to like hang up and be like, oopsie, we're just checking your references. Bye.
She was cool. Yeah, she was cool. But then it just set the tone for the other, the others. So I called the others, but that was hilarious. Like just a simple, like, one person think they're communicating and somebody else is thinking it being a certain way. It's like when you say first number, I'm like, the first one in the list is, and she's like, oh, it's your ADHD. And I'm like, I am not officially diagnosed. So like, let's stop saying that. I was like, no, I'm pretty sure other people might agree with this. So that was my laugh. And I'm like, I'm curious. If I have the screenshot, I'll post it and I'll do a poll and see would other people hit the first number? Like, what's the first number here?
Just don't post the number so this candidate doesn't get.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Everyone starts calling this candidate.
Yeah. No, I will black the numbers out. But I guess the first number was the person we want to hire. So, whoopsie. Anyway, it was hilarious. The real quick laugh I was thinking about, we were watching, I know American Idol is over at this point, but we were just watching the replays because we're behind. There was a scene where Carrie Underwood was like performing and she like had all this turquoise jewelry on, like tons of it. I am like, I looked over at Robin while we're watching it and I'm like, do you think that's real turquoise? And she looks at me and starts laughing hysterically. And I'm like, why are you laughing? And she's like, are you joking? Because she thought I was joking. And I'm like, no. She's like, turquoise is like the cheapest gemstone out there. And you're asking if Carrie Underwood's turquoise is real. I was like, I don't know. I thought it was expensive. Every time I'm in the Southwest, it seems expensive. She's like, it is one of the cheapest gemstones out there.
It is. And I grew up in the Southwest. And I always had I had turquoise everything. But
she's like, you can buy it on this side of the road. And I'm like, yeah, but I didn't know. I just assumed some of that's fake.
Well, I mean, especially if it's like big pieces of turquoise. But even I'm sure Carrie Underwood I'm sure her stylist can afford big pieces of turquoise.
Isn't that hilarious though? And I was being serious because I'm like, do you think that's real? Because that was Slim, like really blinged out. And then what's funny about it is like, yeah, I'm sure like even Carrie's diamonds are real diamonds. They're not like fake,
yeah.
right? You know, like,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it was funny because it's the cheapest gemstone, and Carrie Underwood had it on, and I'm asking if it's real. She thought I was making a joke.
I mean, you're not like a jewelry connoisseur. It's fine.
I'm not. But anyway, that was hilarious. So
that is funny. I wish I could remember some of the stupid questions. I'm not saying that was a stupid question, but like the questions that our partners like kind of think are a little stupid, because there's been times where I've asked real stupid questions and then I catch myself mid-sentence though, and I'll be like, oh, never mind.
Yeah,
I need to like start writing these down, because sometimes Scott is like, are you serious?
Are you
I think
joking?
Most of the time it has to do with sports. Like most of the time I'll ask a question around who someone is or what, I don't know, and he'll be like, are you kidding? You don't know that like Michael Jordan was blah blah blah, and I'm
on
like,
the Bulls team?
Yeah, or something, something along those lines, where if I don't know a fun fact about Michael Jordan, I've been married to Scott for long enough that I should know everything about Michael Jordan. Anyway, so, all right. Well, let's pivot over to our topic this week. Let's talk about comparison. Comparison is the thief of joy. That's like one of my favorite
that is true
sayings. But someone recently was talking to me about this, and they were like, hey, I was thinking the other day, and I can't decide if I'm depressed or if I just don't have like the picture perfect life like I see on social media. And I was like, oh yeah, I think a lot of us can relate to that. So I thought we'd talk about the highlight reel trap. We've seen it a lot where people are like, don't compare your life to people on the internet, but it's really hard not to, because we're wired to know where we are on the food chain. Like
we are. Yeah. It's like part of our ancestry, right? That it's like part of it's, we're hardwired for survival. And thinking more about this, and that comparison part is actually a survival technique, because it helps us like analyze pretty quickly like people's strength, their intelligence, and like their social status. Evolutionary, it's been very helpful for us as we've moved on through our humanism. I've never thought about it as a protection factor, because it always gets a negative rap, right? Like, don't compare yourself. But you're like telling us not to do something we're hardwired to do.
Yeah, so it's almost like we're going against the flow of having to take this extra step of being like, hard. What we're fed is not real, but it feels real because it's being. And so we can kind of go back to this too, because you and I grew up around the same time. Like when I was hitting my teens, it was, right at the early 90s, where fashion magazines everything was very pretty and airbrushed and perfect. So the standards were kind of impossible. We were also around when supermodels were emerging. Like the supermodels were the thing of like the body standard. We also were in the grunge era. So it's like it's always fed to us of what is quote unquote socially acceptable. So it's always around us no matter where you are, social media or not. However, you and I had the option to opt out of that, but it still influences you with friends, with what they have. I grew up in a community where there were kids around that had more affluent parents, and so they had things that I wanted. And so I became aware at a very early age of like, we didn't have as much money as this family. You know what I mean? So you kind of constantly are putting yourself up into this like comparison. It's fine for information, but when it turns against you that you are less than, I think that's the struggle that we all face, because then once social media hit the platform, hit the scene, that's all we have is information of what other people are doing 24/7 a day, 24/7.
Yeah, I'm thinking too, like when you're talking about making people feel less than, in a way, it's like it's completely okay because not to follow the trend, right? Because we always go through these trends. And it's like, oh, everybody's buying the thing, so now I've got to go buy it so I can fit in and be part of the group. But the feeling less than is really like, it's not part of why we have this comparison factor, because that wasn't like that was, when you think of survival, we're not trying to bully people or make people feel less. It's just all about like, hey, I got to feed myself. I've got to figure out how this hierarchy works of maybe this tribe, whatnot like that. I got to find my place. But we as society have just continued to take something that is a protection factor to shame people. And that's not okay. And that is, I feel like, what's really difficult.
Mm-hmm. I do like that our society has evolved to talk about hard things and be more open around that we are flawed, such as this podcast, that we want to open up around things that are imperfect. So I do appreciate that social media has also exposed things that aren't always perfect and shiny. However, we as humans, and I don't know like the science behind this, but I'm pretty sure we're all kind of also evolved to like what's pretty and what looks good and what's aesthetically pleasing.
We do. Yeah.
We're like, so when I see a beautiful photo, whether it be of a person, whether it be of a place, whether it be of a plate of food, like you are very drawn to that. It's kind of like that, what is that? There's some study where babies like looked at people smiling or like pretty faces, and they have it's
like attachment. I think it's an attachment theory.
They have
study.
different responses to different faces and people's features, and so that's hardwired in us, and we don't want to don't fault ourselves for that, but it's how far you take it. It's the relationship you have with it to say my worth is based off of this benchmark. And that's, I think, where we go wrong.
Yeah. So like, how do we, when we see these highlight reels of people's life, I want to first say too, like when you're on social media, you're seeing like probably seconds, right? It's quick seconds of somebody's life. They are likely showing you their best self, their best life. So it's important that when we see it, we're recognizing, one, this is just seconds of, say, thousands of seconds or billions of seconds a day. And that this is not even, if you look statistically, it wouldn't even move the radar how short this clip is. Like their life is so much bigger than this. And so thinking about what's, maybe going on behind that they have a lot of things that are probably not sharing. So, don't get caught up in that, those few seconds.
Well, it's also important to remember that we're all going through hard times and good times. We just aren't curating our lives. Like I have a hard time with social media just because I struggle with posting things. It's an interesting dynamic that I have a relationship with it, because anytime you post something, you're then all of a sudden putting something out there for people to judge and to like. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you're putting something out there to then receive constant feedback, and I'm not great at that. And I also was in a generation where like half of my life has been without social media, and then actually more than half my life has been without it. And now I've had less experience with the world of social media. But it's also really a good tool to look at, yes, these are snapshots of people's lives, but it's interesting that we are going to take that and then compare ourselves to someone we actually have no idea who they are. Like in all reality,
That is true. They could be totally making this up. They could be acting.
It could be an AI bot for all we know. It could be a serial killer. Like we are taking this as like, and honestly, because I love true crime documentaries, a lot of these people who become really famous and Instagram famous are batshit crazy. Like they are bananas crazy, and they end up in jail. So like,
Joy, are you saying when we become social media tycoons that we're really batshit crazy therapists, and we're all going to be in jail?
We are going to be in jail at some point. And you can't convince me otherwise. No, I'm kidding. But it's also, it's just important to remember, like, don't trust everything you see on the internet. And, I look at the case in point of all the trash reality shows that I watch. It's easy to idolize that and be like, they're so beautiful and they're probably making all this money, but they're all train wrecks. Like, they all have so much drama going on. So we are comparing ourselves to strangers, people we do not know. So the tactic I like to take is very much like an Amy Poehler style of doing things, which is just look at the humor of it all, being like, this is actually really funny. It's funny that I'm going to compare myself like, oh, I want this car that they have, or oh, I want this beautiful dress. And sometimes I'll look at people dressed up nice and pretty in clothes, and I'm like, I would never wear I live in Colorado. We wear like outdoor wear every single day. Like, why would I? Anyway, so it's like we have to just kind of break, like, talk yourself off the ledge a little bit.
You're kind of going back and reminding yourself, like being mindful and grateful for what you have.
And
Okay.
I'm like, yes, because my tendency is to be like, I'm sad. This is so I will take I will take humor into it, and I'll be like, this is actually like, what would Amy Poehler would be like? Really, like, I don't, make some kind of joke out of it. I mean,
I like that.
Which is funny because I don't know Amy Poehler. She's a stranger on the internet, but I feel like
I know her personally.
I feel like I know her personally.
Yeah.
And
Just putting it out there, Amy.
Just putting it out
Anytime.
there, Amy.
Come on the
you
show.
Come on the Laugh Cry Club. I know she's obsessed with psychologists, so
Well,
maybe that could be our in.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think humor is a great tool, and I also just think, like, if you're going to compare yourself to the people you do know and ask them for feedback.
I compare myself to Joy all the time.
Yeah, like,
personally.
Rebecca, what do I need to do in my life to make my life better like yours? Like, how do I?
You think my life is better than yours?
I think your life is funnier than mine. Like, you need,
Really?
like, you take such good humor. Yeah.
Interesting. I think you have a excellent life. You are just like so chill. Like, I feel like I get a little crazy. Maybe I am going to be the person. I will be the Instagram famous person, and I'll be like in jail or whatever, like you said. Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm going to be like on the show Women Who Snapped. You know that show?
Oh yeah, yeah.
On ID
Snapped
channel.
on the ID channel. Yeah.
No, I don't. That's interesting that you say that. I think I do find humor in a lot of things, and I was thinking, like, do I really compare myself to other people? And at first, I was going to say, I don't really find that I do, because most of my algorithm, I've trained it on social media, is all really funny shit.
That's good. Yes, we need to train. That's a great lesson. Is
Yeah.
we need to train our algorithms.
Yes, you can, and it'll totally just give you funny after funny, and then I'm like sending it to people, and people are probably getting tired of it, because I find like
It's so good.
if it is making me laugh out loud funny,
You're
I'm
curating
like,
for us. Yeah.
I'm like, I know who are the people in my Rolodex who will enjoy this. And so then I'm like, I send things to different people. But I would say I do compare myself to people like the athletic people, like working out and the muscles. And it's like,
Yeah.
I will say, I actually do really envy your biceps, and you are.
I will
just
say
really
I
built.
have great biceps,
You're
and
built.
a lot of
You're
people.
built.
And I'm not conceited about it, but I've heard this since I was a kid, because I just had this, like,
You just
I have
had
a
these
fr-
arms. You
I-
were all
yeah,
arms
I've
walking on the
always-
street with your
and-
muscle shirt on.
And I have nothing to do with it. It is all genetics, and I'm
Yep.
sorry to disappoint people, because they're like, "How do I get your arms?" I'm like, "I just have genetics.
we
My
cut
dad is
them
really
off
tall.
and put them on us.
My mom's side of the family is super muscular, so, like, I just had this, like, great genetics that people are.
Yeah.
I just pulled my
You
shirt
did.
up,
You're
and I'm
like, here's Bryson.
I just pulled my shirt up subconsciously, where I'm
You
like,
did. You're
"Look
like,
at my
here
arms."
they are.
That's so funny.
That's
But yeah, so I
funny.
do know that about myself, where people, like, I kind of joke about it, because people will be like, "Oh my God, your arms." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I have really
Can you just like raise your shirt up and use your
Can you
fork?
just,
Because
like,
I want to see your tricep come out when you're like
just
using your
tricep,
fork.
yeah. It's so funny. Yeah. And it's funny because I'll get self-conscious, like, on the same thing. I'll get self-conscious about it if
Really?
I'm outside. Yes, because I know it's a, like, not freak show, but just, like, it is something that's not.
So you don't want people looking at you.
Yes, I, like, know it, and I'm like, if it's hot out, I want to wear a tank top, but then I'm going to get attention for it. Yeah, it's
Well,
a weird.
It's
yeah.
killer. They're killer. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I do compare myself then. Yeah. I like, I want to have the muscles that these people have. And, I work out a lot, and I'm like, God, I think my genetics just aren't going to give me like the sculpted look. I mean, I'm strong, but then I have to
you're
get out of
strong
my
as
head,
hell.
like,
Yeah.
it's not going to be like sculpted.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like, we all have those things too.
Yep.
And speaking of, I think a lot of us not struggle, but we have struggled, or we compare ourselves, like, aesthetically of what we look like. I think a lot of people can relate to that. And
Yeah.
so something that I have a history with is tracking. When I was in CrossFit, I tracked macros for a while, and I got really obsessed with it to a point where it was, like, really unhealthy, and I lost a lot of weight that I didn't need to lose, and I became super cut, like one of those,
I bet.
like, bodybuilding people.
Yeah.
Where you talk about people just noticing my arms, like, I would get stopped on the street and be like, "Are you doing a bodybuilding competition?"
Did you oil yourself up too?
No, if I did, I think I
No,
would.
I just think that's
Well,
so
you know that,
funny
or
when
they
people oil up.
or when they, like, tan themselves really, really, that deep fake
Oh,
tan
yeah.
that's really disgusting. And
You don't do spray on tans?
No. I used to, like,
Okay.
younger days. Anyway, that is a trap that I can fall into easily because I will see people doing that and like will have that quote unquote like cut look. That is not normal. Like when I say normal, like very few people just have that without tracking macros. And when I say track macros for people who don't know what that means, it basically means like kind of like counting your calories, counting your food, counting your intake. And that's something that I think serves a place and time for certain people working with a dietitian, but it is not something you should venture into on your own because it can lead to some really unhealthy behaviors as it happens to me.
It gets really obsessive
Yeah.
and it, can become an eating disorder very quickly. And I found like people with past eating disorders, when they maybe get to a point in life, they're like, yeah, I'm going to be working out. A lot of that stuff starts coming back up again, and they have to really watch out for what they're doing. But
yeah, it's a slippery slope. And I've had plenty of friends who've they have the specialty of working with eating disorders. And they always say a lot of eating disorders, a lot of them start with a diet.
Yeah.
Like they don't think it's going to lead anywhere, but it all just starts with, I'm just going to go on a diet. And next thing you know, people just get really obsessed and it turns into something unhealthy.
Yeah. Well, then I think because you're also doing the comparison, right? All the way through. And it's like you start maybe you start
and it's a
shedding
lot of negative self-talk.
Yep. And then it just keeps going and going. You're like, okay, yeah. And then it's like our brains are so messed up sometimes. Like we have an alternate reality of what we really look like, which technical term is body dysmorphia. But I think we all do that too, and that gets caught up in that comparison because we see somebody else and we think that's what I want. And you can't just go into a store and pick this up off the rack and be like, I'm going to have that body, I'm going to have those legs, I'm going those abs, and boom. It doesn't work like that.
It does not work that way. Yeah. It took me a long time because my whole life I've been working out. And I thought that one day I was going to finally achieve this like certain aesthetic. And then I was like, oh, I've actually run marathons and I still look the same. So like something, you know what I mean? Like I think at some point I thought that like some amount of the perfect exercise or the perfect whatever training plan was going to make me look a certain way. And I was like, oh, this is what my body's going to do. And it took me a long time to realize that like my body is what I have. And it's not going to, my rib cage is not going to shrink because my rib cage is my rib cage. Because so I always thought I had like a really wide upper body, and I thought like that I could make that smaller. Guess what? You can't make your bones smaller. Like you can't make your shoulders shrink.
No. No, I wish I could make my shoulders shrink sometimes because I have a hard time with certain clothing. Like,
so do I.
I have like broad shoulders. I'm like,
and when I was doing CrossFit, I had extremely
because you had muscles too,
even more up here. Yep. And I would just like burst out of shirts, and I was always like, the Hulk.
You were the Hulk. You were just sitting there doing a meeting, and next thing you know, your shoulders pop off your clothes.
Buttons flying everywhere. Yeah.
And it hit somebody in the eye across the way. I love it. Oh, this is so good.
But it's like, it was just one of those things where coming back to comparison, like we are our own worst critic.
We are.
So one tool that I will leave everyone with that I think has been helpful for me too is arm yourself before you go into the mess of social media. Before you open up an app that you're vulnerable to, arm yourself. Arm yourself by saying, what is my intention of going into this platform today? And if I start to feel bad, I'm going to close it. Like make a deal with yourself. So there's times where it is so easy to fall into a rabbit hole. Yeah. I see before and after pictures of people, or, what facials are they doing now to make them look younger? I'm like, oh, okay, we're not going to go down there. I need to turn it off now. Like, I just want to look at cute dog videos, so maybe go in with a plan of action before you get bombarded, because you will be assaulted by some pretty scary things that could like really hurt your self-esteem.
Yeah, I think that's great too. And I also go into it with thinking like, if I see something and I start to notice my thoughts about it, like the comparison, I always say to myself, Rebecca, you don't know how many times they took this video or they took this photo, because I see the people at the gym all the time taking their photos for social media, and they take a lot and in different poses with different lights and angles because they're looking for the best one. So this may have been the one photo out of 50 that they took. And honestly, I want to say to you all listening, you could take 50 photos too and find one really killer photo out of there. I guarantee it. So you are as good as anybody else on social media.
You are as good as anybody else on social media, and everyone would be very happy to hear about your life and the wonderful things you're doing. It's just that posting about it for social media consumption does not make someone a better or worse person. It's just out there. So
no, and it's become a business too, right? So people are trying to make money.
Oh, they want to
think
keep
about
you
that.
there. They want to keep you there. It is wired and set up to keep you there longer.
It's like a used car salesman. Always think about it like that. When you go to step on a dealer lot, they do everything to keep you.
They make more money. They
will sell you anything.
Your attention is what they want. Be intentional about where you are giving this platform your energy.
Yeah.
Because you are in control. So you are in control of all of these things, and be intentional about where you want to put your attention, because that is like, I always use this analogy with clients of like, your attention and your energy is like cash. And if you're just like doling it out without thinking about where you're spending it, like we've talked about before, like at the end of the day, spoon theory, same thing. You want to get to the end of the day and be like, oh, I saved some pennies here. I still have energy left.
Yeah. And, the other thing you can do is just unfollow or mute somebody. You don't even...
I do that all the time. Yeah. Or I'll go through Instagram and I'll just unfollow people that I haven't I kind of like
clean
weed
it up.
The garden. Yeah. I'm like, oh, I don't need to see this anymore. Yeah.
Clean it up. Yeah. I think, Joy, I love this conversation today. This has been really helpful.
I know. This has been very helpful. It's a good reminder for all of us, because I mean, we all face it. And I'm not the person, I'm not strong enough. Actually, no, that's false. I choose not to delete it off my phone because I do enjoy it.
Okay.
Because some people might be like, well, why don't you just delete it off your phone and just use it on your, on your computer or your desktop? I'm like, because I like checking in every once in a while.
Yeah.
But I just have to be better around the boundaries.
And, if you're looking for a really great page to follow, you can follow the Laugh Cry Club's Instagram page. I know we're on TikTok too, but we don't really post there because we don't know how to really use it probably, but
we do, but it's also just
it
goes down to energy. It's energy. It's energy.
What is happening here? I can't handle it. It's too
the energy much. Is maybe I'll get there one day, because I do see a value in like growing an audience, but I always come to this place of like, I don't know if I want to put my energy there right now. I just
So you can always follow us, because I feel like what we do share is real stuff. We share laughs and cries, and we're also open to you all. Send us a laugh and cry. It can be a written laugh and cry, or you could do a video of it too, and we'd be happy to share it with our community, because we're all kind of going through the similar things.
We're all going through it together. So thank you so much for hanging in there with us.
Thank you.
You can email us laughcryclub@gmail.com, and like Rebecca said, at laughcryclub on social media. We're so happy you're here. And keeping it real, and we will keep everyone posted on Chelsea. But in the meantime, just continue to send her family all the love in the world.
Yeah, we love you, Chelsea.
Love you, Chelsea. See everyone next week.
Bye.
That's life, baby.